Ever since The Last of Us Part 2 released, there has been an endless debate, an endless wondering that fans have felt when it comes to the narrative of would this story have been better received, would it have been better told chronologically, going from start to finish, back and forth between Ellie and Abby. Would that have been the direction we should have gone? Well, to everybody's surprise, we don't have to wonder anymore because Naughty Dog has decided to randomly just release a chronological mode on The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Nobody saw this coming. We had no warning. I assumed that this game was kind of done being updated, and it turns out it is not. That we have a pretty major significant update to it where you can now play the story fully in chronological mode, and they made it work and flow. And so I've been able to get my hands on it, been able to play through it, and I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts on this thing, both the good and the bad, and the things that I maybe disagree with, or things that have been revealed in doing it. So let's dive right into it. So first off, to answer the question of is chronological better than the original story structure, I would say, in my opinion, and I want to caveat this by saying I'm someone who was a big fan of The Last of Us Part 2 and its story. One of my favorite stories of all time. I think The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 is, in my opinion, the greatest story I've ever experienced, and nothing has topped it yet. And so, knowing that, reanalyzing it, I've also wondered, would it have been better if it was chronological? And I can adamantly say now, no, would not have been better. That Neil and Haley made the right move in how they originally told the story. And the biggest reason is the emotional beats. It just doesn't hit the same when you go back and forth chronologically throughout the story. That when you're able to understand Abby's motivations and you already know who she is and you already know where she comes from, you already know her journey and are empathizing with her before she kills Joel, it doesn't hit the same. Also, when you watch Joel and Ellie's relationship and the falling out, but then eventually the restoration, where they reach out and try to restore it before he passes, it just doesn't hit the same. When you are... The only thing that maybe would hit a little bit harder is being attached to Abby's friends and then not knowing whether Ellie's going to kill them or not. That would hit. But you don't feel the main thing you're supposed to feel as heavy in this game. And the main feeling you're supposed to feel, which is when Joel dies, you're supposed to feel like he was taken from you early. And it's supposed to enrage you, where all you want to do is hunt down every single freaking person who's attached to Abby and murder them in the worst way possible. You don't feel that. It's impossible to feel that in chronological mode because, one, you get 4 hours with Joel before he dies. You get almost half of the original Last of Us game's length time with Joel before he passes. And so you don't get the feeling that he was taken from you early. You actually get the feeling that you were able to spend significant time with him. The other thing is you already understand Abby. And because video games are a different medium where you literally are the character, meaning that when you play as Abby, you are Abby, your brain psychologically associates yourself with them. You don't feel as enraged as when you didn't know who she was and why she did what she did, and you had guesses and theories but weren't certain. And especially you didn't know that, you thought maybe she was a firefly, but you didn't know that her dad was the doctor that was going to make the cure, and that Joel killed him and she was a kid and was left behind. Like, you don't know that stuff, and when you do, it doesn't make you as bloodthirsty. You don't feel the same way Ellie does, and so the emotional beats just simply don't hit the same. And so for that, I actually think the original narrative is superior because it makes you feel what you should be feeling. You feel what those characters feel, and when it's told chronologically, you just don't, because it's not possible when this story is told in that way. That being said, the second thing I want to say is this reveals that the show was flat out wrong in how they did season 2. It was a huge mistake for them to not tell that story chronologically. It should have been. And again, it's because video games are a different medium than film or TV. In a video game, you are the character. And so you want to tell the story in a way that you feel what that character feels because you are them. In a show, you're watching a character. It's a different thing. And it would have worked way, 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 way better for film or TV if they told the story chronologically. And they actually picked the worst option, which was, for the first 2 episodes, kind of tell the story chronologically, but leave out some pretty important bits with Abby that would have helped. And then, after those 2 episodes, there's no chronological telling of it. They just straight up move into It's Only Ellie. That's the worst option. What they should have done was have season 2 just be you going back and forth chronologically of watching Joel and Ellie falling out and watching Abby being hyped up and built up into a large villain for the show. And you get to see Abby's motivations and what she's gone through, how she ended up in Seattle, how she's turning herself into a killing machine to get her vengeance on the guy who killed her dad, and them hunting Joel down. And you watch Ellie and Joel slowly go through their distrust and their falling out, and Ellie realizing what went on and ending off the relationship. And then in the last moment, trying to mend it and trying to move forward. And then the season should have ended with Abby killing Joel. And that would have been incredible. And then for season 3, you would have had them going back and forth chronologically through their days in Seattle, ending with their final fight, and then moving on. And then season 4, you have Ellie seeking out her vengeance and Abby trying to move on to find the Fireflies and getting captured by the Rattlers, and you tell that story and end with their final fight and their final moving on fully and letting go of this thing. That would have been incredible. That would have worked way better in film or TV. It was a huge mistake for Craig not to, and I still wear my tinfoil hat and think that Neil released this right after he announced leaving the show because he told Craig to do that. Because Neil constantly said that the story had to be reworked for TV, and I think Craig didn't really do it, and it ended in the show being worse. On top of that, there's already some writing issues that I think are Craig's fault that I couldn't save it from, but I think that this would have really helped. Lastly, what I will say is this mode is the perfect mode to replay the game. If you've already played the narrative, you already know the story, you've already experienced that emotion, this is the best way to replay the game. The primary reason is you already know the story, so you don't need anything spoiled, and you get to play the gameplay earlier. That you don't have to wait like 10 hours before you can play as Abby. You just get to go back and forth, and it's a genuine joy to watch them go back and forth and to see what's happening in Abby's story when it's happening in Ellie's and vice versa. And to be like, oh, when Ellie was doing this, Abby was doing this. And you, of course, can guess that and assume that in the game, but it's cool to actually see beat for beat when it was happening, because this game doesn't do just what I thought it would do, which would have been the more lazy way to release this chronological mode, which is, oh, here's Abby's backstory. Here's Ellie's backstory. Oh, now, okay, you're going to play day 1 as Ellie. Now you're going to play day 1 as Abby, and back and forth till the end of the game. Instead, it's almost scene by scene, where like a TV show, you go through one scene with Ellie, one scene with Abby, one scene with Ellie, one scene with Abby, and it works so well for replayability, to the point that in playing it, I was like, this is what the show should have done, because it would have worked so good for a show. And it's just the definitive way to replay it. It's my favorite way to replay it. I've replayed this game many times, and this is by far the way I, from now on, in replaying this game, will pick it up and replay. It's just the definitive way to do it. You get to play as both characters back and forth. You don't have to wait forever to play as one, to then play as the other, and then wait forever playing as that one, to go back to playing the other. You just get to go back and forth, and it's actually a ton of fun and a great game mode that they definitely didn't need to include, and I'm super pumped that they did. So overall, I genuinely actually love this thing. I love the chronological mode. Again, they didn't need to do it, and they did. And anytime a game developer does that, I just want to say genuinely thank you. And thanks for ending the debate of whether or not this story would have been better chronologically or in the original narrative structure. And I want to know what you guys think. So head down in the comment section down below and let me know thoughts. Do you agree with me that the original narrative structure has proven to be superior for the game format and what the game was trying to do? Or in playing this through, do you think, actually, this might have been the right way to tell the story? Let me know. Let's have that debate in the comment section down below, respectfully, because I genuinely respect your opinion if it differs. I just think that you don't get to experience that same emotion. But when it comes to the show, I'm curious how many of you in playing this through go, 100% this is what the show should have done. Have no idea why they didn't do it. I'd be really curious for your guys' thoughts, because I feel like now that I've played this, I'm like, it's a no-brainer. This is what the show should have done, and I'm shocked that they didn't. Not only that, I'm shocked that they kind of did it for 2 episodes and then completely didn't do it. Because I know people who didn't play the games, and not just 1 or 2. I know multiple people who didn't play the games who got to the end of season 2, and it ends with you seeing Abby, and then it's saying day 1, and they had no clue what was going on. And when I told them that the next season's all going to be Abby and her 3 days in Seattle, they were like, oh, because you're not going to play as her to identify as her. They've built her up not at all. And they feel like they just watched the story and so are confused why they have to go back. It's just a huge mistake because people don't know. And when you play $80 for a game, you're going to push through a bit with Abby, because you also want to see what happens to Ellie, because you are Ellie and you've protected Ellie in the first game. It's been you. It's different in a show that if you haven't built up this character at all, it's going to be hard to convince people to stay for an entire season to grow to like a character that they hate. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. And do you guys agree that they should have gone back and forth, that people were already attached to Abby by the time that she killed Joel? Because now people have just written her off, and it's going to be a lot harder to convince people to go through a more passive medium like film than an interactive medium like a game to tell her story to get people attached to her. Because they'll probably give you maybe 1 episode, at most 2, for you to convince them, and that's a tall order to do in a more passive medium. And lastly, do you think it's perfect for replays? I think it is. I think it's a definitive way to replay, but I'd be curious for your guys' thoughts. Let me know in the comment section down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that junk, and I will see you guys in the next one.